Good evening. This is BNN News. I'm Chris Lovett. We begin tonight with a national victory for Donald Trump and what it means for Boston. In the race for president, people in Boston gave Hillary Clinton more than 80% of the vote and Trump only 14%. Compared with 2012, the number of people voting in Boston was up by more than 7.5%. In comments earlier today, Mayor Walsh called for healing divisions nationally and locally.
We're very divided, confused, scared, whatever the right word is for our country. And I think we need leaders now, whether it's mayors in cities like Boston or members of Congress and the Senate, to step up and do the job they were elected to do and lead and stop the fear that's happening in our country. I am not letting anybody change the policies in the city of Boston. So when we talk about undocumented immigrants, we have our Office of Immigrant Advancement that's helping people on pathways to citizenship. I am not changing that regardless of what the federal government says. If they come out and say we're building a wall around America, we are not doing that in Boston, Massachusetts. When it comes to community police relations, we're going to continue to build those relationships. When it comes to rights for gay people, we're going to continue to work towards a full inclusive community. And again, I don't mean to sound so stringent on that, but I'm not going to do it. I mean, Boston is a special place because of all the people that live in our city. And some of the policies that were discussed in the presidential election, there's no place for those in Boston, Massachusetts, and nor are we going to let that happen.
One of the few other contests for candidates yesterday was the race for Suffolk County Register of Deeds, won by former City Councilor Steve Murphy. In Boston, Murphy had almost 73% of the vote. On the first four ballot questions, the results in Boston followed the pattern throughout the state. Question 1, to allow slot machines near Suffolk Downs, was defeated with no votes in Boston at almost 63%. The vote against raising the cap on charter school expansion was more than 61%. Mayor Walsh endorsed the no campaign, but said he'd try to support charter expansion with more funding from the state.
Charter schools in Boston are great schools, and we have great leaders in those schools. We have great parents in those schools. We have great kids in those schools. We have great teachers in those schools. For me, the question 2 was not against charter schools. It was against the raising the cap so aggressively. I certainly will go back to the legislature and work with the legislature. I'm assuming there's going to be some legislation filed for at some point for a modest lift in charter schools cap and also funding supports. I am all ears, and I will be advocating in behalf of all of our kids in the city of Boston.
Boston also went along with farm animal protections in question 3. On question 4, to legalize marijuana for recreational use, the yes vote in Boston was more than 62%. The mayor says he'll work with Governor Baker on safeguards for the sale of marijuana in Boston's neighborhoods.
We know that there's potentially up to 48 pot shops coming in the first year in the city. The zoning doesn't reflect what we can do with those. So, we have a lot of questions to ask. So we're going to work and see what we need to do and move forward. The voters of Boston voted pretty overwhelmingly that they wanted to legalize a marijuana industry here in Boston. And with that, people are going to have to accept the pot shops that are going to be popping in our city.
Voters in Boston also went for a yes on question 5, calling for a tax increase to support affordable housing, parks, and historic preservation. The question was approved with almost 74% of the vote.